Every family has a choice, follow the herd or carve their own path. This is the Lone Wolf Podcast. Are you ready to stray from the pack?
Welcome to the Lone Wolf Podcast. Hello!
Well, hello. I have some serious stuff I need to talk to you about.
Great.
Some really big questions.
Okay, bring it
so
on.
You're in the hot seat tonight.
Okay.
And hopefully you can answer them and clear up some information I need.
Was that doubt?
No.
Kind of sound like you just casted me some doubt.
No.
Something to prove here.
No, I'm just hoping for some guidance. I have a small baby.
You do?
Yeah.
Huh.
Who loves to eat.
Small being
Relative.
Yeah.
She's large for her age. But anyways, long story short, can I give my baby honey?
Honey?
Yes.
Ooh. You know, I have thoughts on this. It's funny because...
Wait. Why couldn't I give my baby honey, I guess?
Because of botulism.
What exactly does that mean?
It's like a bacteria. Pretty sure it's a bacteria.
Okay.
If it's not, then I already started on a wrong foot for proving myself here. But I'm pretty sure it's like a bacteria. It's like foodborne illness, you know?
Okay.
But botulism lives in honey. Like there's spores in honey.
Okay.
And in babies less than 1 year old, their immune systems couldn't handle botulism.
Okay.
Like it can make them really sick. But an adult can fine.
Or like an older child.
Yeah.
Could.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they say like don't give honey to infants under 1.
Okay.
And what's funny is there was a time where Holland was less than 1, but older than 6 months. Like we had already started solids. And I was making smoothies and I would like pour some for both of us, you know? And one time I would usually pour hers and then I would add honey to mine and then blend it again. And then, you know what I mean? And one time I forgot to do that. And then I put her down for a nap and all of a sudden I just, and you know that feeling when you just feel hot and you just feel like, oh my God.
And you realize you fucked up.
Yeah, that I gave her honey in her smoothie. And then I started Googling and I was convinced I killed her. And then she was like, I don't know, gassy or like something happened. And I remember just absolutely panicking. I was like, it's the botulism.
And she was fine.
She's completely fine.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is I get our honey from, what do they call people who like?
Apiarist. An apiarist.
Apiarist?
Apiarist.
Apiarist.
I think I'm saying that right.
Apiarist.
Yes. Someone who handles bees.
I don't think I like that word. Anyway, there's a couple at the farmer's market that have bees, like local to Henderson, which is cool because often at the farmer's market, there will be honey, but it comes from like pretty far away.
Right.
And they say like, if you can, you want to eat honey from bees that are local to you in your area.
Okay.
For best support for like allergies and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But anyway, they say don't give, like it's on the sticker on the jar. They say don't give infants under 2 honey.
Okay.
And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, I wonder why they say under 2. Maybe just to cover their asses because they're small business.
Probably.
But
just playing it safe.
I give it to Zeppelin. I mean, I waited until I think I gave her
like 1, right?
I gave her a little bit every once in a while if it was like in something, you know, like sips of something, just before like turning 1, you know, because it's not like all of a sudden on the day of her first birthday, you know, all of a sudden magically she can handle honey.
She's doing fine.
I actually posed this question on my Instagram, my personal account, a couple months ago where I was like, how do we feel about this? Like, because it's always really intriguing to me when whole foods are kind of demonized, but then like somebody could literally be feeding their 1-year-old a bag of Cheetos and nobody would like bat an eye or be like, you probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That I'm like, it's interesting. Like, how true is this, you know? And I think I actually went and looked up how likely it is that like botulism spores are even present in honey and like how often like infants get sick from it or something. And I remember it being very, very rare.
Yeah. It's just like anything.
Yeah. And I've seen it before on some pages, you know, some people who are like diehard, like raw milk people like we are that are kind of like, I think it's bullshit. We give honey to our kids,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm not trying to give out advice here, but
Yeah.
it is an interesting question,
For sure.
actually.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting.
I always thought it was strange because like we give her so much stuff, and why are we avoiding honey?
I know.
And I mean, we aren't now, but like
It's the same concept to me as like pregnancy, but like the things that we decide pregnant women can't eat, like you can't eat sushi, you can't eat fish, you can't eat raw fish, you can't eat deli meats, you can't eat, you know what I mean? But not once are we ever like, you probably shouldn't eat that Krispy Kreme donut and drink Dunkin' Donuts or Dutch Bros every morning. You know what I mean?
But yeah, because we're not. I mean, I was gonna say we're not restrictive with like our eating. We are very restrictive with our eating,
like us personally,
but like with the whole organic foods that we eat, we're not restrictive with that. If that makes sense,
right? Like we have the foods that we eat, and we're not restricted within that world of
right. We don't have many restrictions inside of that food.
And I did that in pregnancy too. Like, I ate plenty of fish and salmon roe and like all the things, you know.
For sure.
I don't know. I wasn't afraid of, to be honest, like some of them, like deli meat. I don't know. Deli meat's really not the healthiest choice anyway. That like I wasn't really eating that.
Yeah.
But I remember I craved salami so bad in Holland's pregnancy, and I wouldn't eat it because I was just terrified.
Really?
But then with my second, I don't know, you know better, and I felt more confident to be like, some of these recommendations are a little sus to me.
It's crazy.
I mean, there's higher risks of foodborne illness in lettuce than there is in raw egg yolks.
Yeah.
But they tell you to like I think it's salmonella specifically, but everybody like freaks out if you talk about raw egg yolks. But now like I blend it in our smoothies, I put it in our oatmeal. Like me and the girls have raw egg yolk all the time.
For sure. Well, I mean, so restrictions kind of brings us into the topic that we're talking about tonight, which is the starting solids guide that you created for getting your baby off of, well, not off of breast milk, but getting your baby onto
transition.
Onto real food, which Zeppelin thrived during all of it. And it was really cool and honestly a little weird for me to see the things you were feeding her.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, what in the fuck are we doing here?
Really? You felt that?
I mean, I knew it was right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I read your guide and I have like heard you talking about it, and I watched you do months and months and months of research.
I did a lot of research.
Before even putting it together.
Yeah.
So I knew it was right, and all of it made complete sense when you explained it.
Yeah.
But I think like liver pate and like just like salmon eggs,
bone marrow.
Yeah. And, you know, it was just, I was watching her, I was like some of the stuff I was like, oh, what? And she loved it. She loved it.
Yeah.
She's an eater.
Well, and you know what I think is interesting? Since I've made this guide, I've had, I think, somewhere between around like 15, I think, sales on it, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then of course, like I've also, you know, just sent it to like Katie and some friends and stuff to kind of check it out before I put a price tag on it. But from everybody that I know who has given me like feedback or I've checked in with, you know, on their experience of kind of following my like guidelines on solids, their babies have loved everything.
Yeah.
And to me that sticks out because I feel like so commonly you think of like feeding your baby some green puree and they're always like spitting it out and they hate it and it's gross and you're like, come on, trying to like shove it in their mouth and stuff. But like, I don't know, I feel like it's a testimony to that these foods are exactly designed like by nature for the growing body and brain of these like developing babies, and their bodies are like, heck yeah, give me some more.
Right. I was gonna say, I think you could argue that they are so willing to eat the stuff that I might be like, oh, what are you doing? Because their body needs the vitamins and it knows that.
Yeah. There's actually a really interesting study. It has pitfalls for sure. I'd be very interested to see it recreated in the modern space. Probably never would, but this study gets kind of referenced quite a bit in the realm of like-minded people like myself who believe in kind of like ancestral real food for babies. But it was done in the like 1920s or 1930s. By a female pediatrician. She felt that babies have a natural ability to know what they need through food. And so she took 35 babies. Again, it's really small, but took them and chose a selection of like, I think around 20 foods, such as liver, bone marrow, cod liver oil was in there, grains, some vegetable, animal proteins, fish, like whole foods.
Yeah.
And everything was prepared very simply, very minimally, like seasoned, no sugar, any of that. And they would put the babies in this like room, and there would be one person that would sit next to them with a completely straight face, and they would observe the baby, but they weren't allowed to make eye contact or do any of that. They were just there to merely observe. And the babies would be given this, array of food, and there was no pressure. No, like, come on, one more bite. What about this? Whatever. They would just let the babies do whatever they want.
Okay.
And then tracked, what they chose, what they ate, etc. And I think they all got a basic blood workup for whatever that meant in the 20s prior.
Okay.
And then I think maybe halfway through and then after. And what was really interesting is they all had very different eating like patterns and preferences, and it would change from day to day as well. Like some babies would eat like just only fruit for the whole day, and then the next day eat like only meat, which is really interesting.
That is interesting.
But at the end of it, they all had balanced diets.
Really?
Yeah, which is really cool. And then the most interesting thing that they pulled from it, and this gets I don't know, echoed around a lot, is there was a baby that had rickets, which is a vitamin D deficiency. And that baby went to the cod liver oil, which if anybody knows cod liver oil, it has a very intense smell and taste. It's not necessarily something you think a baby would like down.
It's not something that I would be running to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even like love it. I have to get creative in ways to get it in. But the baby consumed something around like 9 ounces of cod liver oil.
Wow.
And then got blood work done and cured the rickets. Their vitamin D levels were great, and then they didn't touch the cod liver oil again.
I mean, that's pretty crazy.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. Again, yeah. I totally know people, will attack it and be like, well, it's so small and it's blah, blah, blah,
I mean, I would like to see it recreated.
Exactly. That's my point, is that I think it's a really cool concept. And as somebody who has worked with hundreds of babies, I really, really believe that babies are very, they have this kind of intuitive, and they have just this kind of like innate knowing. And I feel like it deserves more attention and recognition.
Yeah.
In the modern world. But they're not robots. Right. And we live in a modernized world that really tries to convince you that your baby should be a machine. Yeah. Like that they should sleep a very certain way. They should only wake a certain amount of time. Right. Every day of breastfeeding should look the exact same. Every day of eating should look the same. You know what I mean? And they just don't work that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like adults don't. I mean, an average adult doesn't work that way either.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So let's start. Let's go back to like the history of, like the origins of like where the information that you got came from.
I love that because we love a good history lesson.
Yeah,
I have some notes. I love doing history deep dives, and I think what's funny is that like in school, I've always hated history.
Yeah.
I think it's just because I'm dyslexic and numbers are really hard for me. And history in school is a lot of memorizing like dates and whatever. And my brain just could not it didn't matter how many times I tried to.
That was like the one thing I actually really loved.
Is history. Yeah. I don't know. It's just never connected for me. But now that I'm older, I have come to enjoy history. But I think the thing that I really like about it is that even with science, we've become so like, where's the evidence? What's the study? What's the science? Trust the science. We've become so like, we use it almost as like a scapegoat, the right word that I'm thinking, a security blanket, whatever it may be. Like we use it as like a crutch almost to like
to validate an argument.
Yes, to validate, but also to avoid like critical thought almost.
Okay.
Of course, not all the time, but like I think it's very easy to be like, oh, well, that's that because the science said so. And now it's almost like you have this armor and like nobody can question you or, because then you're anti-science.
People love to throw that around nowadays.
Right?
Yeah.
But the thing about history that I think is cool is history is kind of undeniable, right? Like there are things that have happened in history that you can't really refute. I think that when you go and look at the history of a lot of things, of where we were, what happened, where we are now, it really gets your wheels spinning. So if you think of the first food, so if we're talking about solids for babies, I wrote my solids guide as speaking on the first sacred foods for babies. But in order to speak on first sacred foods, you can't forget the very first sacred food for babies, which is breast milk.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is the very first formula didn't come on the scene until 1850.
Okay. Why did that come on the scene?
Why did it come on the scene?
Yeah.
Well, so let's think before there was formula, because this, is interesting to me. I'm like, well, if we think you have to have formula in all these situations, what did we do like before 1850?
Yeah.
You had two options. Your baby either breastfed or you had a wet nurse.
Okay.
And
so
that's
like
it. Somebody else that would help breastfeed your baby.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And the wet nurses were really only used if there was like, a maternal death, like mom died in childbirth, if mom was sick or there was some sort of an illness, a separation, between mom and baby, things like that.
Yeah.
It was a very, there's really kind of a simple list where that wet nurse would be needed.
Right.
In today's world, I don't know, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why women won't breastfeed.
Right. Or think that they can't breastfeed.
Yeah, or think that they can't, for sure. Yeah. And that's not to discredit that there are situations where women can. And we're also living in a very different world in 2025 than we were in 1800s, right? And I totally recognize that. I am never anti-mom. I'm going to make that very clear now. I am an IBCLC, which is an internationally board certified lactation consultant. It took me 5 years to get those hours to be able to sit for the exam, to have that after my name. Yeah. Very passionate about it. I'm a big advocate for moms, but I'm also not afraid to say the things that some lactation consultants feel like they can't touch out of fear of hurting somebody's feelings.
For sure.
Because there are big powers at play. Okay. So anyway, your question, to come back to it, was why? So it was I believe a scientist. Okay. It was a man. I think he was a scientist. And the first formula actually came on because of orphans. So he saw a need that there were babies that were in orphanages who were separated from moms and needed a way to be fed.
Okay. So it started organically, it started in a nice way.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was one of my questions while I was kind of doing some deep dive research was formula created to profit off of mothers and babies?
Right.
Or was it, did it actually have...
I mean, that's immediately where my mind went. Was like, who figured out like how to make money?
And now here's where it turns, okay, is the answer is both.
Okay.
It's, yes, it came, maybe with good intentions, but the second that they figured out that babies are a market,
right,
and formula companies catch wind that we can make a product that can potentially mimic breast milk.
Yeah.
Bada boom.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Okay, so in the 1900s, campaigning around formula started to really take off.
Okay.
So they started creating these campaigns to essentially say that formula is scientific. Like I said, here's that scientific concept. Formula is scientific and breast milk is unreliable, unmeasurable, right? Like we can't see That's a common thing for a lot of moms.
Mhm.
You know, you can't see how much your baby is getting.
Right.
Like if you were to measure a certain quantity in a bottle and then give that to the baby and then look at it after and know exactly how much baby transferred.
Yeah.
Like now we can create this science of knowing exactly how much a baby is getting.
Right, because your body that we've used for millions of years or however long we've been here, you know, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, suddenly it's flawed and it doesn't work right.
Okay.
Yep. And then I think there was a big push as well for like the modern woman. And I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but when I was doing this research, a lot of it was making me think about birth as well, because the modernization of and where the science kind of came in and took over caused a lot of damage in birth as well, not just feeding.
Right. Like having a surgeon deliver your baby.
Yep. Well, and
in a clinical setting.
Yep. And we started pushing again, it's an opportunity that like if most women are having babies, then why are we not creating a profitable market off of women having babies?
Right.
You know, and there was also, this was aligning around the same time as a lot of men started going to medical school and becoming doctors, and the white coat concept. And they started making billboards where they would show a midwife as this little like ogre with a hunched back and warts on her nose and crooked teeth. And then they would show a nice man with a nice haircut and a white coat on. And they would be like, who would you trust to deliver your baby?
Right.
So like the science was really trying to come in and kind of push mother's intuition to the side and be like, your body doesn't know, your intuition doesn't mean anything.
You need a man to tell you what to do.
You need a man in a white coat exactly to like tell you, and you need science to tell you what to do. You have to trust the science. So the modern woman, though, there was this programming that if you were I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a correlation to like the modern day person. Like if you want to be the mom who like drives the Lexus at, you know, school pickup and has the fancy like designer purse and the whatever, like if you wanted to be like the it woman, you shouldn't experience pain when you give birth. Right? So there's a lot of programming around that, and that's how they could push the epidural.
Right. That makes sense.
So then the epidural came on scene, right? And now all the women are like, oh my gosh, I could give birth and like not be like screaming or sweaty or in pain or whatever. I can just like sit there and lay down and like have my baby. Right. Similar concept with breastfeeding is that the modern woman is too busy. She has too much going on and too many like higher priorities to breastfeed her baby.
Okay.
So there's a lot of programming around those concepts to convince women that breast milk is not the best choice, that you should be going to formula.
Well, and you got to think also like this, you said like early 1900s, this is kind of when this was going on.
Yeah.
You got to remember like around that time, they're having women working in the factories.
Yep.
Quite a bit more as well.
Yep, definitely.
And so you had this push like from our previous episode to get women out of the house and into the workforce.
Yep.
And what better way
to
incentivize a way for them not to have to breastfeed while they're at work?
Absolutely. Yep. Go and make your money and then spend your money to feed your baby while you're away. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's like it's like the modern daycare model too, where like daycare costs like 50% of a woman's like salary.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so then what happened is from 1950 to 1970s, breastfeeding rates hit rock bottom.
Okay.
So at this point, I believe, in 1970, only 25% of US women were breastfeeding their babies at all. The lowest breastfeeding rate in human history.
So that's what's wrong with all those boomers.
Isn't that insane?
That's
though?
Crazy.
In human history.
Yeah.
25% of U.S. women. Breastfeeding at all. That means like
not even like
just putting your baby to
yeah.
the breast like when they were first born,
right,
before discharge from the
doesn't
hospital.
that doesn't even mean that like they didn't switch to formula.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
And then only 5% of mothers were breastfeeding by 6 months.
Okay, so
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they were successful, I would say, in the formula campaigning. So the way that they did it is they started aggressive marketing to hospitals, new mothers, to doctors, and to developing countries. So they just came in really heavy at all those places. Then the hospitals started to give out formula starter packs, which is still a problem today. It's very, very common, where you go to the hospital and you end up coming home with like formula. Or they will literally mail it to your house.
Yeah.
Or you go to the pediatrician. I had it happen to me with Holland. I went in, and in the room, there were just like piles of different formula brands like underneath the cabinet. And I was like, are you serious? And then they asked me how like feeding was going. I was like, oh yeah, we're exclusively breastfeeding. They gave me formula to take home.
Yeah, why not? Because you know what? If you're having trouble and you don't have any good counseling or consulting on how to get your baby to latch or why it's painful and how to fix that, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go crazy. You're going to go, my baby's not eating. You're going to panic.
Yep.
And then you're going to be like, get the formula out. I know I said wasn't going to do this, but that's most of the time.
It's actually really sad to think about, because you wouldn't even have to like send your husband in the car to go drive to the store to get formula. It would literally be sitting on the counter. And so the temptation's right there.
Yeah.
And then as moms, you start to feel that guilt of like, my baby's hungry and I just can't make enough for them, and I have to feed them, and my body's clearly not enough for them, and they're rejecting me and they're crying at the breast, and they just need to be fed.
I had spoken to someone that I sold the house to recently, and they had their baby, and he was telling me the story of them being in the hospital, and I guess his wife was in there for like 7 days or something like that. And
did she have a C-section?
No. No. I guess it was a high risk pregnancy, but I don't know what was going on there. But he said that she was having trouble. The milk wasn't like coming in, and I was like, well, that's fairly normal. Like for the milk to not come in right away, you're gonna have colostrum initially. And he was like, well, yeah, they mentioned the colostrum, but like, it was like a few days, and milk still wasn't coming in. I was like, well, it's not going to come in right away. You have to just wait for it. But the colostrum is good for the baby. It's, you don't typically you don't need to supplement that. Yeah. And he was like, well, the hospital really, they pushed us to, formula because the baby lost like a pound. I was like, well, that's normal too. Like it's normal for the baby to lose weight. Well, yeah, but they kind of made it seem like, like he needs something, because I'm like, oh yeah, just hearing the story, and I'm like, I was like, well, your baby's happy, your baby's healthy now, and everything. Yeah. So I didn't want to like,
I know,
you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be like, bro,
I know,
they got you.
Yeah, it's the same kind of story so often. I'm not going to say every time, but it is a huge battle that I've had to help a lot of moms with. And then the problem is their formula comes in and literally creates the problem. Like, because if you take a baby and mom's making colostrum, which is the first milk, and it's the best perfect thing to give baby, it literally goes in and primes their entire digestive tract to prepare it to actually be able to process nutrients out of the transitional milk that's going to come on next. And it helps clear the meconium, or the first poop, out through the digestive tract. And it helps stabilize blood sugar. Like it literally does so much for baby. They call it liquid gold. But when babies are born, their stomach is literally the size of a marble. It doesn't take a lot of drops of colostrum to fill that marble. Right. And their belly size increases in coordinates with mom's supply transitioning and coming in. Like as if nature like designed it. I don't know. Crazy, right?
Yeah, it works perfect. Yeah.
But the problem is the formula companies know they're capitalizing on the fear and insecurity of a new mom who is vulnerable in that place.
Right. And wants to do what's best for the baby.
And that if the baby is crying and seems like they're hungry, it's the biggest reason why most moms end up supplementing is this fear of not making enough.
Right.
And so they come in and they're like, well, here, just give this baby this formula. And they bring in a bottle that's about that big and like that big around. Yeah. And so then what you do is you overstretch the baby's stomach because you're putting way too much volume in there, right? And now baby's going to be hungry more often. And then once your milk does transition, they're going to come to the breast and they're not going to be satiated at the breast because we overstretch their stomachs. But then the same issue is that the way that breast milk works is it's supply and demand. So if you're removing an ounce at the breast, then it tells your brain to make an ounce for baby. That baby needs an ounce at the next feeding.
Okay.
Well, if baby comes and only removes half an ounce and then we're like, I don't know, they're just not getting enough. I'm not making enough. Let's supplement. And then you give them an ounce, another ounce, right? Baby now thinks they need an ounce and a half, but you've only told your body to make half an ounce. And now guess what you just did? You created an undersupply.
Right.
And then it's just this cascade, until you get completely dependent on formula and your supply completely tanks.
Right.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
And it's so preventable.
Right.
It's so preventable. But moms don't know any better. And honestly, nurses don't know any better.
Right.
I went to nursing school. Not a single time in a single lecture did we ever speak on breastfeeding.
Well, and they have lactation consultants at the hospital as well.
Yeah.
But
they're not great. But yes, they will give formula supplementation in the hospital. They push it a lot. There is this baby friendly initiative for some hospitals and it's gotten fairly popular. There's pros and cons to it. But if a hospital is not baby friendly, then they can make deals and incentives with formula companies so they can get payouts for, sending moms home with formula.
There you go.
Yep. And then also we're getting away from it now. It's becoming a little less commonplace, but babies would also be separated from moms for hours or days at a time. Like that's where the nursery came from, right? Like now it's very common that babies room in and they'll be in the room with mom, which is the best thing you can do for establishing a good breast milk supply. But we would take the babies and put them in a nursery.
Okay.
How are you going to be able to catch babies' hunger cues? And
why?
Because then you're not catching babies' hunger cues.
Yeah.
Mom's supply isn't going to come in, right?
How did you rationalize that to a mom?
Well, and you can also then have a whole, and I don't know exactly how all this works, but now you have additional things you can put on the bill because now you have another floor and another set of nurses and another place where baby goes. And you now have to charge for the care that baby's receiving in the nursery. And Crazy. They probably said it, they probably market it in a way that like, well, women need to rest and recover. So you can't be, nuisanced or bothered by the baby. So we're going to separate mom and baby.
It's so backwards.
It's really backwards. Yeah. But we talked a lot. Marry somebody you could start a podcast with episode. But we like convince women that it's like for your own good.
Yeah.
That like you can't possibly be bothered by your baby. You better rest and recover.
Yeah.
Which of course I'm a proponent for rest and recovery, but you also just had a baby and we also need to do right by that baby. Like, yeah. And it's really important for mom and baby's recovery that you guys are touching each other
together.
Yeah. Touching each other, not just swaddled up in a blanket in a plastic box in the corner of your room. Your baby needs to be on you because you guys are both regulating and, finding homeostasis after the big journey of pregnancy and birth. Yeah. But I digress.
Yes.
So then the formula reps also came in and trained doctors. Okay. So it's not to say that all doctors are at fault. They're products of the system that they were trained by.
Right.
And the formula rep, just like pharmaceutical reps, right? Like you think of like painkillers and stuff. And I can't think of the show that we watched, but we watched a show on painkillers and the reps, were making good money to go hit up all these doctors and get them to sign on and agree to these painkillers.
Yeah.
not necessarily knowing that they were doing harm to people. And then I think this is maybe where the nursery concept comes in as well. Separation, of course, but also then these kind of strict feeding schedules get pushed where, like I was saying, we want to put babies in this box and think that they're a machine or a robot and say, well, your baby can only be fed at exactly 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is for approximately 20 minutes. And that's it. And you can't be outside of that. Right. I see so many moms now, like there's apps out there where you can time this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I would never tell them that you can't, if that felt like something that they needed to make sense or kind of find their footing during breastfeeding. Like I would never directly tell a mom if they were sitting in my office in front of me, don't do that.
Right.
But I'm not a fan of it because then instead of watching your baby and listening to your baby, you're watching an app on your phone.
Right.
And
and if the baby's hungry and it's letting you know, you're avoiding that because it's outside of your window.
Yeah, because there's still 20 minutes left on the clock.
And so is that kind of where the concept like cluster feeding came from? Because cluster feeding is like it's not like timed, right? It's
So cluster feeding is a natural, like biological thing that babies do.
Yes.
They go through periods where they want to be at the breast and nurse often.
Yeah. But that's like when people bring it up now, it feels like they're saying something that is like outside of the normal thing to do.
That it's wrong or concerning or something to like be worried about,
like
or
cluster feeding.
And that's because we're still, kind of pushing this, like you need to feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours.
Right.
And so if a baby's now feeding more often, then moms get stressed and they're like, does that mean they're not getting enough then? Is my supply tanking or what's going on? What's wrong?
Right.
But we're just not fed. Nobody really has like good understanding of what's biological and normal anymore when it comes to birth and breastfeeding. And because who profits if we, are connected to our own intuition and our own like design of how our bodies work.
When you're more likely to end up on formula if you tell mothers that their babies don't know when they need to eat or what they're doing.
Yep.
And here's the schedule, and if they're doing anything outside of that schedule, you need to be worried. And the strict like ideas of feeding your baby can also impact supply too. Yeah. So you can naturally, end up in a situation where you don't have as robust of a supply because every time the baby comes to the breast, they're giving feedback, they're giving information to your brain. I call it the kitchen. You could think of it as a control center. They're giving information to the kitchen staff to know to make more for the next feeding. Yeah. But if we're interfering with that process, then baby's not able to go and be like, hey, I'm about to have this really big growth spurt and I'm going to cluster feed a bunch because I'm removing more milk and I'm providing more stimulation at the breast. And that's going to let your kitchen know or your brain know to then make more milk to help me with this growth spurt I'm about to have while I'm connecting more neurons and synapses in my brain for the next 48 hours. Yeah, that makes sense. Right? Yeah, there's just such a natural, this is what I was saying earlier. Babies are so smart, and we don't give them any credit. We view them as these little, potatoes that you're just supposed to swaddle and put on a schedule on an app, and they just don't work that way. Right. And truly, yes, there are outside factors. I'm never denying those things, but more often than not, if you can get a healthy mom and a healthy baby who just get to know each other and are really in tune with each other, and then just feed their baby naturally, they usually thrive. There's very rarely problems or need for supplementation whatsoever. I mean, that makes the most sense. And I've seen it firsthand. I'm not just talking out my butt, Yeah, it's our baby. Yeah. And my baby before that. Ultimately, breastfeeding hasn't failed women. The systems have. Hospitals, employers, scheduling, formula marketing, social pressures, cultural beliefs, all these things have broke down or greatly interfered with that instinctive mother-baby connection. Okay. And then that same system came in and sold us the solution. That's usually what they do. It's common, right? Yeah. I feel like it's the same theme that we've seen in almost every rabbit hole we've gone down. Yeah, because if you're not double ending it, you're not making double the money. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. They got to come in and you're not creating, you want to be creating more customers. Yep. So they go and create all these issues and
fuck with things that really don't need to be fucked with, and then are like, oh, but don't worry, here's the answer.
Yeah, we'll fix it for you.
That'll be $10.99.
We'll fix that problem that we created for you. Yeah.
Around here, cod liver oil is our secret weapon. My baby gets drops in her kefir like it's baby brain fuel, and I toss the gel into my smoothies to keep my omega-3s on point. Thing is, cod liver oil isn't some new crunchy mom trend. For generations, it was the nutritional insurance policy, filling the gaps of our modernized diets. Baby books from back in the day even had a line to check off when cod liver oil was given, right between contact naps and cloth diaper changes. You can't just trust any cod liver oil supplement, though. Most are heated, processed, and stripped of their goodness. Green Pasture keeps it old school, with fermented, unheated, high vitamin cod liver oil that actually delivers. Go to greenpasture.org and use code LONEWOLF at checkout for 10% off.
We're all about nose-to-tail nourishment around here because nature didn't waste a thing, and neither should we. Enter Pluck Seasoning, the easiest way to get the benefits of organ meats without actually having to eat organs. Unless you're into that. Respect. Pluck has become our secret weapon in the kitchen. It turns simple meals into nutrient-packed powerhouses. A sprinkle transforms ground beef into something primal. A dash in soups or bone broth deepens the flavor and nutrition. Even eggs and veggies hit different when they're kissed with those essential vitamins and minerals your body actually craves. Use code LONEWOLF for 15% off your next jar of Pluck and taste what happens when ancestral meets every day. We talked about formula and breastfeeding. Now, going into solids, did something similar? Was there a shift in like the market or the time frame for like how did it get to a point where we went from ancestral eating to here's processed, purees and junk like that?
Totally. I mean, babies used to eat a lot of real food. We have a friend who her dad just recently passed away, and she was going through all of his stuff and found his baby book from when he was born in 1948.
Yeah.
Still in good condition. And so she was taking pictures of everything and sending it to me. And there was a section that said, when you're starting, solids or transitioning to food with baby, here's the foods that we recommend and why. And they were egg yolk, liver, cod liver oil, some fruits, whole milk, fish, butter, cream. Those were all the foods that were on there, right? And it's funny because in today's world, like most people would be totally freaked out by at least 50% of that list of foods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was demonized over the years.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because if you really take a step back and think on it, like who's right? You know what I mean? The people who feed their babies real food from nature, or the stuff that's packaged up with a price tag and an indefinite shelf life in the Target baby section.
Right.
Like, and that's not to shit on, the families who pick those things for their baby. They just are, lost in the marketing of modern baby food.
Right. Or convenience.
For sure. But yeah, so in the 1900s, so still same time frame here, the baby food industrial complex was born.
Okay.
So a lot of it was, again, like companies realize that there's a market in babies and that moms are tired and they're exhausted. So why don't we come in and sell them convenience?
Right. Moms
will totally spend their dollars to have shortcuts and convenient options for their family.
Right.
Which I respect it. I'm all about trying to help moms find ways to make, things more convenient for feeding their family. But the difference is that I want them to feed their family like real food.
Yeah, nourishing food.
Yeah, but like who profits if we're buying stuff from the local farmer, the farmer's market, or some fruit and veg at Sprouts? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not Gerber.
Yeah.
No one gets rich, right? When moms are taking charge of what they're feeding their babies. The other thing to consider too is it's very cheap to produce the modern, what we know now as like modern baby foods. It's very cheap to store it. Mm-hmm. It's super shelf stable because it's all
preservatives.
Dead.
Okay, so now let's fast forward a little bit and say baby's ready, or baby's at the age, or what is the age that you would start introducing solids to the baby?
Right now, it's a bit of a hot topic in the like crunchy mom world. And this was something that I had to really deep dive on because I didn't know where I stood. Like, I know that I'm a big proponent of breast milk for babies, that I was like, okay, well, maybe I agree with these crunchy moms who are saying that you should breastfeed your baby exclusively for a year. Like, why introduce other food and whatever? Your breast milk is perfectly designed for baby. So why are we complicating it? And that there's potentially like, I don't know, risk, I guess, to introducing like solids too early for babies, which is interesting. So I looked into it quite a bit, and there is some contradicting info out there. But what I kind of landed on for my own personal belief is kind of two things off of that. One, that waiting a long time, I don't think is necessarily going to serve your baby well, especially if your baby is showing you signs that they're ready.
Right.
Because I guess I'm like a broken record on this concept. Babies are intuitive and they know if a baby is starting to show signs of readiness for food, it typically corresponds or correlates with their gut development.
Okay.
Which means that their gut is ready for these more complex foods.
Right.
Also, around 6 months, your baby's going to have iron stores that it gets in utero prior to delivery, and it'll kind of ride those iron stores for a little bit. But at around 6 months, they're depleted, and their need for iron is now going to drastically increase. And you can't really get it from breast milk. So that's where solids come on board.
Okay.
With that, though, that doesn't mean like iron fortified cereals, right? You need like iron that babies can actually digest, something that's bioavailable, such as liver, for example. Right. There's these people thinking that you should delay. On the opposite hand, there's the people who think you should be starting really early. Most pediatricians now say that you should be starting solids at 4 months. I personally believe that that's way too early, and I think they do it for a reason. It's because they're going to tell you to go buy purees and iron fortified cereals, right? And these are from these big companies that are going to be profiting. Why not get babies in 2 months sooner? Right? Like, why wait till 6 months if we could get them a customer to these industries at 4 months? I agree. Right. I really disagree with it. I don't really know any baby that's ready at 4 months old.
Yeah.
So how do you know that your baby's ready? There's 4 signs of readiness in your baby. The first one is that you show interest in food. Okay. So they'll like be really interested in what you're eating and like wanting to participate with you. The second thing would be they start bringing things to their mouth. They start having the coordination to like take something and bring it to their mouth. Then the second thing is the disappearance of the tongue thrust reflex. So babies naturally, if they put something in their mouth, their tongue would like push it out. That actually starts to disappear around 6 months, meaning their anatomy is preparing to be able to then chew and swallow food without a problem and to be able to like manipulate food in their mouth. Yeah. And you'll see it like if a baby's not ready, it's that, common thing where you strap a baby in a thing that forces them to sit up and then you're trying to spoon feed them a puree and they're literally just like their tongue is just pushing everything out.
Yeah.
Because they're not ready. And then to have good head and trunk control. So babies are very floppy in the beginning. They'll start to develop the neck control, but then they also need to have the trunk strength to be able to sit up relatively independently.
Okay.
And obviously that's a safety thing, right? If your baby's floppy, right? And can barely hold themselves up, and then you're trying to put food in their mouth, like it's just
choking hazard.
Yeah, it's a choking hazard. It's not safe. But I'm a big fan of, rather than thinking about the age and being so caught up on like, because I was this way with Holland, this day she turned 6 months old, I was like, time to start solids. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And I like made this like breast milk oatmeal and whatever and trying to feed her. And she was like, Mom, no. And I was so bummed out, because I was so excited. She needed more time. So rather than focusing on the exact age, I would rather see that baby checks the boxes on that kind of like signs of readiness first.
What would be some of the first foods that you would introduce when they are ready?
You have to think of a developing baby. What do they need, or what is growing or changing the most? What's their biggest demand, right? Their brain.
Okay.
It's the most rapid period of brain growth in a human's life, I believe, is like the first year of life.
Okay.
Their bones, right? Because they're like growing every day. Their immune system, and also like gut development. So babies have like immature immune systems, kind of immature guts and digestive systems, and then have a huge demand for brain and bone growth.
Okay.
So with those things in mind, I think it's important that you understand that first, and then you kind of build the foods that you're going to be introducing to baby based off that.
Okay.
Right? In my opinion, it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So babies have immature guts. And if you introduce solids too early, like we were kind of speaking on previously, the problem is babies have a open gut, meaning like all the little junctions in the lining of the gut are not closed. So if you introduce food too early, baby goes to try to digest it, and those particles can actually leak through the gut lining and cause inflammation and wreak havoc in places. And this is where you can see babies with like eczema, which is a crazy common thing these days.
Right.
So that's why I really like things like meat stock, because it really helps seal the gut.
Okay.
And a nice sealed gut is going to allow baby to get the most out of the food that they're eating, get the most nutrients out.
Okay.
So I really like starting with meat stock. And then I would transition to, you want foods where while baby's learning, they're not going to be getting a large volume in. So I really like to make sure that the foods that they are getting small amounts of are very nutrient dense.
Okay.
So that you're getting the most nutrients out of that mealtime.
Right. So that would be like liver and fish, eggs.
I really like egg yolk as I would say probably your second food. So I would go meat stock, and then I would say egg yolk. It has really, really awesome vitamins and nutrients in it for the growing, developing baby. And you would kind of like soft boil it and then take that just the yolk.
You avoid the whites.
You avoid the whites at first. They are an allergen, a potential allergen. And also some babies have a reaction to it and it can make them throw up.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
And so, and the nutrients aren't as like rich in the whites as they are the yolk. So prioritize the yolk. I would like to soft boil it, and then you can kind of mix it up. It almost makes a puree. And then from there, I would say liver because of the bioavailable like heme iron. I like to then grate it. You freeze it, and then you grate it, and then you could mix that into your egg yolk.
Okay.
Or I also like, we had an episode all in pluck. They're an Oregon seasoning blend. I love that. It's literally couldn't be easier to take that and then sprinkle it. You could sprinkle it into the bone broth. You could sprinkle it into the egg yolk. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then from there, I have a list of what I call sacred foods in my starting solids guide. And it's a pretty lengthy list. They're all, real, ancestral, nutrient dense foods. And once you kind of get those, the groundwork laid, then you can kind of have fun with it and you can start introducing more. You can start mixing and combining things,
right.
And just go based off of your baby. And then once you kind of get through, I'd say about the first month or so of that, then I believe you can start shifting. And of course, this means your whole family has to be eating good, high quality foods as well, which if you're not already, if you're willing to do it for your baby, I hope that you're going to have the same desire to do it for yourself and your older children as well. Right. Like make that shift for the whole family.
Yeah.
But then you can start kind of whatever you're making for dinner for the family is what you're going to provide to baby.
Right.
However you have to set it up for baby.
Yeah.
But then it makes it easy. You don't need to be making separate meals for everybody all the time.
Right.
And I go over that in more depth in the starting solids guide.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So those are good. That's good information to get, for somebody who is starting to feed their baby solids, because now you kind of know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're going to come across the issue of, okay, like, is the stuff that I'm giving them in that category of food quality or not? So how are you sourcing the liver, which is not an easy thing to get a hold of?
Mm-hmm.
At least, nowadays it's not like something that people are going to the store and buying often.
Right.
Where would you start to get that kind of stuff?
Yeah, your
egg quality, all of that.
You're probably not going to find a grass-fed beef liver at Walmart.
No.
No. Yes, I think that sourcing can be something that people get hung up on. For me, when it comes to our family and our children, I'm like all in when it comes to sourcing. I just care about it. It matters to me. I also think it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to be me to provide your baby a really great start. If you can only afford or you only have access to the, caged eggs from the grocery store, that egg is going to be better than going to the baby food aisle and buying a overheated, blanched puree, right? In my opinion, you're going to be doing your baby better by picking the whole food. So don't get totally caught up on all of the quality stuff if that feels like it's a barrier to you. Of course, though, if it's not, price isn't a barrier to you, access isn't a barrier, by all means, I say pick the top quality food stuff, especially just when you're starting solids, because you're building a foundation for baby. And as they get a little more resilient, the gut gets a little more developed, the immune system gets stronger, they've been introduced to more foods, then I get a little more loose on some of that stuff, just for survival, know?
Yeah.
But sourcing your local farmer's market, what I really like about going to a farmer's market, and you could just go to Google. This isn't like some super secret information. Go to Google wherever you live. We live in Las Vegas in the literal desert. And we have so many farmers markets here where they source stuff, from California. But I like that because all the fruit and vegetable is going to be seasonal.
Okay.
Which I think is cool because there is actually something to say for eating in season. The vitamins and nutrients are going to be of better quality.
Yeah.
And your body also works seasonally as well. So we're going to better digest and better absorb these nutrients in the season that we are in.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So I really like that stuff for baby, for whole family, but for baby purposes. And then find your local farmer. That can be hard. It can take some time, but check Facebook groups. The Weston A. Price Foundation, which is something that we align with quite a bit. They have a resource on their website where you can find the local chapter leaders. Nevada doesn't have one. I don't know, we're lacking in so much, but almost all the other states have chapter leaders, and their job is to find all the local sourcing of farm fresh food and stuff. Okay. So you could contact, I think you would get their email address and they would have a guide and they could send it to you. That's always cool.
Okay.
And then the grocery store, of course, there are options. If you pick more of a health food store, like a Sprouts or a Whole Foods, it's more likely that, you're going to find the higher quality eggs, the higher quality meat products, things like that. Whole Foods does also have liver.
Oh, they do.
They also have chicken feet, which are really awesome for making bone broth with.
Okay. Yeah, we had some today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you can go to Whole Foods and get a good organic beef liver.
Yeah. I don't know if all Whole Foods have it, but our Whole Foods does, and it's a grass fed.
Well, that's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can go to the grocery store and request probably liver at jelly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've actually never tried that.
You probably can. It's probably, it just, it might not be.
Well, I would say you could do that at a butcher.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do it at the grocery store because I don't think they're not processing the animals there. That I have a funny feeling they're getting it from a distribution center, and the distribution centers don't keep, like, they literally trash all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's even making it to the store.
Okay.
But at a butcher, yeah, it's more likely. We also do we do a meat subscription. This is not sponsored. We do it with Wild Pastures, and I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
They have add-ons, and they have liver. They've had tongue before. They have chicken hearts. They have all kinds of organs on there. So a lot of the like meat subscription stuff will have that option too.
Okay. So we're starting. So obviously the focus is whole foods. If you can afford it and you have access to it, it's pasture raised, organic, from potentially your local farm.
Definitely.
Cool.
And then I will say as well, just touching on, again, I go into a lot more depth in my starting solids guide. There's just not enough time in one episode to hit everything, but also the way that you prep some of these foods is really helpful too. For example, grains, beans, legumes, those types of things, you really want to sprout them. You can ferment things, you can soak things. All of it will just help break down some of the nutrients in there that are much harder to digest. This is for adults and kids as well, not just babies, but you can get, your cheaper, more basic grains and things, but if you prepare them in a right way, it can still be a really awesome food for babies as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of sourcing, we had some bone broth tonight. We had, you were playing with those little chicken feet.
I know.
Just getting ready to give them a little pedicure. We have a bone broth is a staple in our house.
100%.
We have it all the time. The girls love it. Can you give us a little bit of information on how you make your bone broth and what that entails?
Yeah, it's funny. My boss actually called me the other day and was like, I need to talk to you. Is bone broth, it freaks me out. How do I make it? Like, I need to know. This just seems so crazy. But I saw an acupuncturist and she said that I need to be drinking more warming foods and I really need to get away from coffee and, but I bought in the store-bought bone broth. It's just not the same. Well, then it makes me think of your coworkers where they were literally buying bone broth off of me because it was way better than like Kettle and Fire or whatever.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. I had like a business going.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But it's so much better than store-bought bone broth.
For sure.
I also don't think store-bought bone broth is actually bone broth either because it's like way too watery to be legit bone broth. But anyway, so bone broth is so easy. It really, really, really is. One of my recommendations, I think, for like a beginner where you like don't have easy access to chicken feet, chicken backs, chicken necks, like those types of stuff, which all make the best like meat stock, is if you get like a rotisserie chicken, eat the chicken, save the carcass. I did this for a while, a couple of years ago when I was first getting into bone broth.
We had tons of carcasses in our
freezer. The freezer, yeah. Save the carcass, throw it in the freezer, or use it right away, whatever. But then you get a big stock pot. You dump that chicken carcass, the bones and stuff, into the pot, and then this isn't science. It's not crazy. Take some carrots. Don't peel them because the peels actually have extra nutrients in them.
Okay.
Chop up your carrot. I like to do them a little thicker just so you don't get like these mushy things in there. Chuck your carrots in. Take an onion and loosely chop it nice and big. You don't got to sit there and dice it up. Chuck that in your pot. If you have celery on hand, you could chop that up too and throw it in. Then pinch some unrefined sea salt on there. If you want to grate a little pepper. And then this is where you could leave it literally just like that. I lately have really liked, I go down our walking path and I cut rosemary off one of the bushes. Also, I planted a sage bush when I was pregnant with Zeppelin. I'll go and cut like a little piece of the sage off. Or you can also do dried spices, any spice. You could do thyme, parsley, whatever you want to do.
The rosemary is really good.
I like the rosemary in it. Yeah. And you can add your seasonings in, and then you're going to literally fill the pot up with enough water to cover your bones. And then you're going to put it on like medium to high heat until it starts to boil, and it's going to create what's called scum on the top. It's just like frothy stuff. You'll scoop that out and just discard it in the sink. Once you feel like you got all your scum off, you're going to turn it to low, and then you're going to leave it for about 4 hours.
Okay.
That's it.
Simple.
Literally, that is it.
Yeah.
And then you can, drain it out. And then I'm a big fan. I like to put it into glass jars and keep that on hand in the fridge. And then I also got those like super cubes, which are my favorite. I got them when I was doing my postpartum meal prep stuff. You would portion out your bone broth into your super cube, put the lid on, and then you put it in your freezer.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, and then you have 1 to 2 cup portions of bone broth.
Right, so you can reheat it and not have to heat up the whole batch.
Yeah. And I use that typically when I'm making like soup.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to like make a fresh batch of bone broth. I already have some on hand.
That is nice.
And then the stuff that I keep in the fridge, I usually will like, my recent obsession has been heating it up on the stove and then adding butter and pluck seasoning on top. And it's so good.
So good.
I'm doing that as like a morning drink.
Yeah, it's delish.
Yeah. But it truly, it's so simple and it feels so intimidating to people. I don't know why. I think just because it feels so...
It feels foreign to make your own things.
Yeah. Especially from like sourcing like that.
Right.
Like chicken feet.
Right.
What? I don't think
Well, I think like if you said just like chicken broth, it would be more, I think it'd be more inviting or less intimidating than like bone broth. Because I think people have this idea in their head, like how do you get the broth from a bone? Like,
how do you have the bones and how do you prepare them? Where do you source them?
Weird wording like that kind of does a number on people's heads.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. No, but it's so simple. Yeah. And then you could do that just in general. Anytime you have bones, like if you're eating like chicken wings or chicken legs or whatever, just make a Ziploc bag in your freezer and literally just collect the bones. And then, once a month you could have enough bones in there to go. And you can do the same thing with beef bones as well.
We've gone over quite a bit and it's a lot of information and hopefully it's not overwhelming for people, but if they are starting solids or they have a baby or they're pregnant or they're just planning to have babies and they want to be prepared, where can they find your starting solids guide and where can they find more information on all the information that we talked about?
Okay. So my starting solids guide was inspired by 2 books. I actually have them out right now.
Beautiful.
Super Nutrition for Babies. Super awesome book. And then of course I have to shout out Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon Morell.
Weston A. Price.
Yep, who is the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation. Specifically, this is the Nourishing Traditions book for baby and child care. It's not specifically on solids, but there's a good section in there, a couple chapters on starting solids.
Yeah.
There's some really awesome info in there. For my starting solids guide, it was honestly inspired off of like my own desire to have a resource that kind of combed through all the information that's out there from all angles of starting solids. And I had some questions. And so I went to find the answers and was like, you know what? I just learned so much stuff and it is not easily accessible for moms. Like even that, like these books are amazing, but not everybody has the time to look through hundreds of pages to make a decision. And
even if you do, it's overwhelming to tackle something like that.
It totally is.
And to look and be like, okay, I got to read this whole thing to potentially get some information so I can make better decisions about what my baby's going to eat.
Yeah.
And then you start to go, well, maybe I'll just do whatever, this person told me.
And in a world where I know that moms are being taken advantage of on that mere factor of like convenience, I wanted to make something convenient that actually was nourishing and had depth.
Yeah. Well, and as somebody that didn't do any of the research for it and had no idea, what all this entailed, looking over your starting solids guide after you made it, just when you asked me to look through it, gave me a ton of information. And, I don't cook our meals. I don't grocery shop for us. I don't do any of that stuff. Yeah. But when I am home with Zeppelin and I was preparing snacks for her and stuff like that, it gave me like a reference point to go back to and be like, okay, well, I could do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And granted, our fridge probably looks different than most people's.
Made it pretty easy.
Yeah. So there's always something in there that fits that criteria.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you start thinking along those lines of like, I have this guide and this is kind of the outline for nourishing my baby, it also falls into like nourishing your family as well.
I totally agree.
And there's not a huge difference. Like everything that we feed ourselves, we feed Zeppelin.
Well, and I like the perspective that you're offering that, as like the dad, you could look through it and it kind of gave you confidence. There were times where I would be away and you'd be feeding her one of her meals,
for sure.
And it gave you the confidence, and it also gave me the confidence to know that like you knew how to feed her and how to prep it. And, because these foods can sound so foreign, but they really aren't hard. They're just new or different, and yes, and also like you said, I think it allows opportunity for like your whole family to kind of explore new food ideas and probably eat more nourishing as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's 22 pages. It's not crazy. I really tried to intentionally lay it out. And there was so much I wanted to put in, but I really held back on a lot of stuff to keep it as easily digestible as possible.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But it's only $16. I kept it super affordable too, because I just wanted to get in the hands of the people who need it.
Yeah.
So you can find it. We will put a link in the show notes for this episode. And then it's also, I'll make sure I get it in our link tree. So if you are on our social media accounts, you can click the link in our bio and there will be a section where you could go and snag one for yourself.
Perfect. Get your baby right.
But I think I would just want to end us on the note of don't let convenience rob you from this opportunity to connect with your baby in this way and to offer them deep nourishment, because you are building the foundation for their long-term health. And it is such an important time in their development, and it's such a gift that you can give your baby if you take just a little bit of extra time to do the research and the preparation to gift them, true deep nourishment.
Yeah. And you can feel proud about it.
That's right.
Love it.
See you later, loners. If you feel at home here, leaving a 5-star review helps other families find their way too.
Come hang out with us on socials at Lone Wolf Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
Remember, sometimes you have to stray from the pack to discover where you truly belong. Until next time, loners.